A straight gutter war in Ireland plus. We made it to week one here on the College Countdown. I'm Josh Neighbors, your host here on the 365 Sports Network, as well as Rogue Media Networks. Follow us on Twitter at CC Podcast JN. I'm also at Josh Neighbors _. Not as many shows last week because I was doing double duty on a radio show at the radio station I work at. So last 10 days, I've been filling in for people who have been out taking those last vacations. As a young guy in the business, you got to fill in. So, you all know how it is. But we survived week 0. Let us know your thoughts. Good Lord. I think the best way to describe what happened between Iowa State and Kansas State is that the fight in the parking lot between the older Avery Johnson's father and the younger Avery Johnson's brother much resembled the game. Sloppy and appeared to be drunk and wet. Also very, very wet. If you've not seen it, Avery Johnson's dad and also his brother got into a fist fight, an altercation in the streets in Dublin after the game. It had to be pulled apart. Not great. But this game was, it was fun, to have football back. I think what I thought about Iowa State getting the job done against K-State is a couple of things. Number one, I would not be shocked if we saw a lot of games that resemble this early on in the season. And I really hate being the portal guy. This air transfer portal, nobody wants to hear that. But, there is a lack of continuity that happens. And, these two programs do return a decent amount of players on both sides, especially K-State. K-State's got some dudes who have been around for a long time. There's those two guys at wide receiver have been around for a hot minute. And obviously, there's two guys like Dylan Edwards out there, too. They've got some guys who have been around playing college ball for a while. Iowa State, too, 5-star culture, prides themselves on having guys who stick around for a long period of time, right? So there's some familiar faces on that side of things as well. But, as we have teams with higher rates of transfers, I would expect that these games look like this, where just guys have to mesh. And also, I think you see a lot of this, too, in the NFL, where the early season games just do suck a little bit because guys are not going as hard. They have to worry about staying healthy, especially college football now. The season lengthens, so these guys have to worry about staying healthier longer than they did before. It's a different kind of deal. And so I think that's why you got a result like this. 24-21 final score, 3 points either way was kind of my thought process on this game. I liked Iowa State plus the points. If you get it 3.5, I thought K-State might be able to edge them. I thought the score flip would probably be the other way, 24-21 Iowa State or K-State. But Iowa State, man, did a great job of just kind of controlling this game. I felt like they were in command of, they were never trailing, I don't believe. And so I like the way that they were able to kind of control that, and their play calling late was what separated them. This was not a well-executed game, but the thing is that when it got really important late in the game, they were better. So they were 3 for 14 on third down. They were 3 of 3 on fourth down. K-State was 5 of 13 on third down and 1 of 4 on fourth down. So if you want to argue where this game was won and lost, oftentimes you can look at stuff like that, third down and fourth down, and say, hey, 5 of 13 is not good. It's better than 3 of 14. But if we've got a difference of 1 of 4, and then also 3 of 3, and both teams are below 50% on the third down type deal, then I think you kind of know where the game ended up, right? 318 to 383 was total yards. I just think that Iowa State was better when it mattered to extending those big drives, right? The drives that mattered most. You can kind of, there was a point in this game where we had fumble, punt, touchdown, fumble, downs, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, end of half, right? So after the 2 touchdowns, we rattle off fumble, downs, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, and end of half. Kansas State had a 12-play, 27-yard drive, which is really incredible stuff. Business picked up a bit in that second half, where you get long K-State drives, ends and downs, touchdown, 11 plays, 67 yards. Right, so you have 51-yard drive for K-State, ends in no score. 67 for Iowa State, then 75 touchdown for Iowa State. Great response. And then you have a 10-play, 57-yard field goal drive. You have downs after that, touchdown for Iowa State, and then touchdown for K-State, end of game. A 12-play, 60-yard drive that took up 6 minutes and 23 seconds. So another long, sustained drive from Iowa State, able to manufacture offense there. And I thought Beck was really good when it mattered most, not good in the entire game. Obviously punches it in late. They did what they had to do, running the football, but Iowa State will get outclassed this year eventually, it feels like, by somebody, maybe not in the Big 12, but somebody down the line, you'd think. But they can win tight ball games. I mean, they've got a quarterback they can trust 110%, right? 110%. They got a quarterback they can trust. And they have a coach that we know has been there before around guys, that we know of relatively experience, right? I mean, Abu Sama's been there a long time. Carson Hansen, they like a lot. Rocco Beck. But receiving core, not guys that we've, been talking about for years and years. At Iowa State, right, last year, the Eskledson, whatever his name is, caught like 3 passes, right? And he caught 3 yesterday. We've seen Brahmer there for a while, right? He's had some success, but nothing super crazy, nothing that really to write home about, I should say. And so this is a relatively new passing offense. The rushing offense is there. Also, I think that playing service really hurt them as well. But this is a game that occurred. It happened. The reason why it's relevant is this game will impact a playoff spot in my mind. These are 2 teams that fully intend on competing for a Big 12 championship and have, I think, the resources to do so this year. I think K-State, that quarterback in the offense, they should be better. Execution was not there on 4th down in this game, unfortunately. And so I think if you play this game in 2 months, the result's different. If you play it in a different setting, it's different. That's a K-State home game. If that game is in Manhattan, Kansas, it's a much different situation. So, in my opinion, not like totally, completely different, but I mean, I think it's safe to assume like it's a 3-point game at a neutral site. You could swing that back the other way for K-State. And look, I know Iowa State was up 10, but I feel like it would be a bit tighter. I don't think it's too out of bounds to say that. But it brings up the question, like, should you be playing these early season games that are massively important? I know non-conference games are fine. I know that's okay. But, like, do you really need to be playing big conference games early? I don't know. I'm not sure I feel really good about, like, conference games that are deciding conference races happening in the first couple weeks of the season, just when it is a filling out process. For entertainment standpoint, it's nice, but also we got a lot of big non-con games that are huge, that are big for this, and I don't know if we have any other conference-on-conference matchups. We had one last year to start. Obviously, Northwestern and Nebraska was one of them. Independent versus independent was Navy and Notre Dame, so I know that's kind of the theme here. And I know on Monday nights we used to as well. I know we had some. I know Georgia Tech, I think, played Virginia Tech maybe Monday night like 10, 15 years ago. The Monday night game was a conference. Monday night games have been conference games sometimes in the past. That has been somewhat of a trend in week 1. But I don't know if that's kind of the formula. That's really what you want to do. I mean, look, I like it. It's nice because the game feels a bit more impactful. But, like, is it give you the best quality in games where you really want to be peaking, right? You peak in conference play. You work out the kinks in non-conference. And this is 2 quarterbacks and 2 teams that I would have rather seen on it's such a good rivalry. I'd rather have seen them in a different setting than this. Nice to have. But yeah, it's a huge win for K-State, or Iowa State rather, because this is a tiebreaker you get now. It's 1-0 in conference. And I mean, if you think about what Iowa State has left like this year, they're non-conference wise, they have South Dakota. Obviously, they have the Cyhawk game against Iowa. It's a home game this year. They're at Arkansas State, which once again is a game I cannot fathom scheduling. But they got Arizona at home. They've got BYU at home. They have Arizona State at home, and they have Kansas at home. On the road, they've got Cincinnati, Colorado, TCU, and Oklahoma State. So, I mean, their 4 conference road games are pretty manageable. If they can split those, like this can be a 10-2 team, I feel like. It's got a chance of being a 10-2 team. And it's going to have a really good shot at going to a college football playoff. And they could lose, the Iowa game still at home. And I actually don't think they will. I think they're better than Iowa this year. They could, but they have a good chance of going to 4-0. They got Arizona at home, right? Run that thing to 5-0 before you play Cincinnati. But Iowa State's in a really good spot, and their schedule lays out really well. If TCU and Oklahoma State are good this year, yeah, that back end of Arizona State, TCU, Kansas, and Oklahoma State could be tough. But this team's got a good chance, not because I think there's some special team, but they are well coached. They got a veteran quarterback, good running game, and they've got a schedule that plays out pretty well. So Iowa State definitely on track considering all the factors involved. Nothing else big from week 0 that I would say was super big. Great to see Jalen Daniels back out there, man. I mean, just a guy who's dealt with so many injuries, and to see a Kansas offense look like that yesterday was really exciting to me. I think that was just fantastic to see an offense that looked the way it did. Jalen Daniels, on the day, 18 to 20, 176, 3 scores, runs for 47 yards. And Kansas kind of looked like KU again, albeit against Fresno State. EJ Warner, a quarterback, had a tough time, but it was good to see that, for them. And also a new receiving core, a lot of guys that we're not familiar with seeing for KU. So Lance Leipold and company, and the honor to keep Talib, which was nice to see. Also, the Stanford-Hawaii game, I love people like this. So the kicker from Hawaii is Japanese. I'm sure you all have heard the story. Hits the game-winning field goal, and he is Japanese he learned how to kick on YouTube, which is a fantastic story. And the best part about that is the fact that I love people where it's like he wasn't more nervous to kick the field goal. He was more nervous for his post-game press conference afterwards. That's cool, man. That's cool. It's like, my English isn't great. I don't know English that well, so I'm nervous about it. But the kicking the field goal, nah, we're good. We're good. Hawaii down Stanford in that game. Stanford's going to be bad, man. It's rough there. It's rough. I saw something about Cal, maybe wanting to scrap the football program. Stanford might not be too far behind them. And they've got Hawaii at BYU, Boston College, at Virginia, San Jose State, at SMU, Florida State, at Miami, Pitt, at North Carolina, Cal, and Notre Dame. I have a tough time finding 4 or 5 wins in that schedule. It is not easy. It's not easy. Stanford's bad. So, but we didn't think anything different about that. All right, week one has arrived. So I want to ask this question. Like, what we survived in the offseason. Like, this has been a talking point, I think, really recently for college football fans. What do we survive? What do we endure? Because a lot of these conversations that we're having during the offseason have become esoteric, and they have really become about the health and wellness of the sport. And I'm trying to think, like, how do we process this? Because my thought process before was this, is that while changes are happening, very large changes that people are uncomfortable with, whether it's conference realignment or NIL issues or playoff expansion, all this stuff is happening, but it's all happening simultaneously. And people, the ratings say they're not really tired of it yet. My question, though, is that how long can you not have specific rules and still be like totally fine? Like, is there any point where college football experiences attrition in terms of viewership because people are just sick of the fact that there actually are no rules? So I've made this point several times. I will keep making this. Greg Sankey used the term guidelines on the radio show that I work on here in Arkansas at SEC Media Days with my host, David Basil. Use the term guidelines. Well, in sports, in professional sport, and this is college, but in professional sport, most sport, guidelines are rules that are set forth that have been collectively bargained between a players' association, a union, and their employer, the league. And that could even be like, hey, the Players Association allows the league to change rules. And it's become harder and harder, I think, for fans to wrap their heads around some of this stuff. But these people in charge keep asking for rules. Coaches talk about transfer portal rules. Administration asks for, we need guidelines, all this stuff. But nobody's going to step up and make this stuff because we've got multiple conferences. The only governing body across all of them is the NCAA, not very effective, and the College Football Playoff Committee, which is its own thing, which is, effective in organizing the playoff, but not much else. So, we've got to figure out what the structure is. And once again, I'm somebody who's for players getting paid, and I'm for them being employees. And Dusty Dvorak said this, who was in the broadcast yesterday, played at Oklahoma, is in media every single day with Dusty and Danny on XM. Guys, college football is the second most popular American sport by TV viewership. It is just a fact. And so every other sport below it and the sport above it, the NFL, have collectively bargained this stuff. And the issue that you have with college football is individual players can just go out and sue. And precedent and rules can be made basically off of one player suing somebody. That does not happen in the NFL. It does not happen in the NBA. You get some outliers where guys make some cases, about certain stuff, whether it's collusion, whatever, but it's really rare. in college sports, it's become somewhat commonplace for groups to try and unionize or, somebody try and sue. I mean, Diego Pavia has basically changed the landscape of JUCO college football, JUCO college sports to going to play in Division I by just one court case. And so it's not something the NFL has, it's not something the NBA has, but college has it because of the nebulous nature of the fact that these guys are not employees. And that's where the Pandora's box is open here. And nothing's going to change about it. We're in a period of transition. Those happen all the time in history and sports and government all the time. It happens. But we're in a serious period of transition where this is a little different. This is a sport that's kind of stuck in transition because people can now push the boundaries, but there's no resolution right now that we're heading towards about how to stop the boundary pushing and how to come together as a sport. And so transfer is going to keep happening. Revenue sharing is a real thing that we have seen come to pass this offseason. And NIL will remain as kids get paid what they should be getting paid from the schools, the bare minimum they should be getting paid. And then obviously they get NIL on top of it. Is Sam Pittman here at Arkansas made a point the other day. He said, I expect inequality will be going away here pretty soon. Well, if I have $20 and you got $10 and Kevin gives each of us $20, I've got 40, you've got 30, so I still have 10 more dollars. So the way it works is, if you still have NIL resources, just as the kids are getting paid does not mean that, it's more even. It's equitable in the sense of just the initial money being given out, but not in terms of NIL. There's just no money being given out right now, so the NIL will separate it as it was before because no money was being handed out. And so these things have to be ironed out. They eventually will be ironed out because I do think that we might hit a point where people get so frustrated they might start leaving the sport because there actually are no rules at all. And once again, as somebody who's on the side of the players, we need rules because people are frustrated, but people don't like change. So people need to know that if change happens, it's under the framework of something. If there's just change and there's there's no solutions, then you might lose some folks. I don't think enough to matter that much, but because 10 million people still watch all these football games. But there's a chance that we do lose people. And that's where I've come around on that. I was in a place before where I was people won't stop watching. And generally speaking, they don't. But if you lack structure forever, you might also end up in a situation where the media apparatus laments what's happening because it's harder to cover. The coaches are lamenting what's happening because it's harder to coach. The administration is lamenting what's happening because it's hard to administer. You're getting paid less money. The players are getting paid what they want. And the fans are this sucks because everybody's mad. And so we're mad too. And they might say, we're mad because players getting paid whatever. No. But the adults in the room need to start being adults again. They were adults when it mattered for their contracts coming up. They were adults when it was time to sign the TV deals. But it's time to be adults and figure out what the rules are. How many teams are serious about college football? Make a 50, 60 team league of teams that want to be serious about it. Distribute the revenue, figure out the TV deals, make these kids employees, and let's play some football. Because let's be honest, these kids are here to play football. And it's become more clear to me than ever that these guys, you speak to agents and lawyers and coaches and media members like Ross Dellinger, who's the smartest amongst us, I would say. And he's this probably ends with these guys becoming employees. It needs to. But it's here. Let's enjoy the football. But that's what we've endured this offseason. The continued conversation. It was a whole lot of realignment. That ship on a major level has sailed somewhat until we get a large scale league, I think. But the revenue, the realignment ship sailed to get some smaller moves, but the big moves have passed us by. We're now talking about the big moves in terms of legislation on the college sports level, and internally, which is not really happening, externally, federally, which is, Ronald Reagan had the quote, what's the, don't want to call federal government, whatever he said. I don't always agree with that. But I don't think college football needs a federal government. They should be able to regulate themselves, but they have yet to be able to, which is frustrating. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at CC Podcast JN. I'm at Josh Neighbors _. Coming up, we'll have conversations about who has the most to gain in week number 1. All that and more coming up this week. Leave your comments, like the videos. See y'all soon.